Hello, Queen Ages. I am back. It is Friday again, and I am coming to you from my little sauna that I happened to build with my partner. It took 100 hours, so I wouldn't recommend a non builder to start a building project like this one. Maybe start a little bit smaller. Anyways, nothing like building things and then using them and feeling amazing because you actually built it. Every time I'm in here, I'm reminded of how amazing it was that we managed to build it and it's still standing 5 or 6 years later. I have been thinking about little me, and I don't know if you caught my latest post. I wrote a letter to my little younger self, and part of that was because I was looking at photos of myself as a little child because my dad came to visit me. So it was quite an incredible process going through the photos of me little, and because I didn't have any really, just a couple, and because I moved away, and I guess you don't tend to have photos, your parents tend to hold them, so mine still have them. My mum had made me this incredible book for my 50th, which was fantastic. Lots of photos of me, but these were really nice, and the process I went through was really interesting. And writing a letter to myself was special. You don't often connect with your younger self, and I was able to connect with myself through these photos and look at me and think about how I was feeling and what was happening in my life at the time and where I was, because we did travel quite a lot as a family when I was younger. So it was a beautiful process, and I actually thought it would be amazing if more people would write a letter to themselves. It would be an incredible kind of collation, a little anthology that would be really nice. It's an idea that I thought I would put out there. So if anyone's interested and anyone actually does write a letter to themselves, let me know. I think there might be common themes, particularly for us women, of what we would say to our younger self. I think little me would be in awe of big me because I've done a lot of things that I can be really proud of and made decisions that have been really difficult. So that was a really nice kind of project and something to focus on this week. The other thing that has come up this week is the question of how you show up. And I guess it's a broader question because we do have technology now that links us in ways that hasn't before. And it got me thinking about how horrible I felt at first showing up like this on video. I'm sending it out to hundreds of people, and I find it quite amazing that I've been doing this now since September last year, and I've only missed one Friday. And how I show up doing that. I don't wear makeup generally, and I like wearing earrings, so you might notice me wearing different earrings. I have washed my hair in the last week. I did brush it today, and I'm wearing clothes that I feel comfortable in. And I'm able to do that because I do work a lot from home. We're out in the countryside now, so I'm not going to be wearing fancy clothes because they will get dirty. But how do we show up in the other spaces that we're in, and what that means, and whether you've asked yourself that question, and how do you feel when you show up in different spaces, and are you showing up as you, or are you showing up as carrying shoulds and carrying the ideas that perhaps others might or think. And that's been a really interesting thing to ponder, because we all do show up. Those of us who write, or you might be on Instagram, or you might how you show up at work, and where you work, and what that means. And it was interesting because I was thinking a lot about my own mother who worked for many years at a university, and she got a senior position, and she was a management. And so she just decided she wasn't going to wear a suit because she'd never worn a suit. She'd always been a teacher, and as a manager, she just wore the same clothes. She always looked really nice, but she decided, I'm not wearing a suit. That's just not me. She would occasionally wear a suit jacket. And it made me think about when I was younger in my 20s, I actually thought that, I wanted a job where I could wear a suit. I don't really know why I thought that. It kind of was, I grew up in a small country town, and perhaps, my parents at that time wore shorts a lot, and clothes that I basically wear now all the time, that was their work clothes, because we were living at an outdoor education center that a school owned. And so I thought that seemed kind of fancy to wear a suit. And I remember kind of doing visualizations in my 20s, and I would imagine myself wearing a suit. And of course, when I got to do some jobs where I kind of had to wear a bit corporate clothing, it was just pretty horrible, to be quite honest. So fast forward quite a few decades, and I've worked at a variety of different schools, and some that in Australia that required me to wear perhaps clothing. That was nice. They wanted you to present to the students a professional kind of way of being, and not that perhaps some teachers maybe don't wear clothes that are very professional. I've had colleagues perhaps in some schools that have been, just clean clothes are important when you're teaching children as role models. But it kind of made me think of the broader idea of like how we're showing up in the world, and are we showing up as ourselves, or are we showing up with layers of protection, or perhaps a blanket of should, and I should be wearing this because it's this job. And do you actually have to? Is it an unwritten rule? Does it make you any less professional if you wear really nice pair of jeans and whatever it might be? It's just, I think, worth questioning how we're showing up in different spaces. And it also made me think about the fact that AI now presents some really polished and kind of strange, because honestly, like, I have dabbled a little bit with making images, and I got a woman with 3 arms. Obviously, I don't know anyone with 3 arms. There might be somebody out there with 3 arms, but yeah, generally speaking, we have 2 arms, sometimes 1 arm, sometimes no arms, but usually not 3. So I think in the age of AI, that perhaps showing up as ourselves, authentically human, with all our glorious imperfections, is going to be more important. And in particular, on platforms like LinkedIn, which is supposed to be a professional platform, it is very strange. And that's a whole other conversation. But I think that it is important that we're questioning ourselves, that we're asking those questions and thinking about our response to those questions. How does that feel in your body when I say, how are you showing up? Does it make you want to crawl under a rock? And why might that be? Not everybody has to show up in the same way, of course, and there's whole businesses that are based on being faceless, that there's no person. But I certainly love the human connection of seeing the people that I am working with, even if it is on Zoom and without a filter, and hearing their authentic voice and listening to how they sound. And I think that's important. Our world has opened up into this kind of crazy space where artificial intelligence, we probably shouldn't call it that, machine intelligence, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting future, and we need to kind of ask those questions and perhaps kind of think about humanity and how we interact with each other and how we're presenting, and that perhaps we really love imperfection and the beauty of storytelling. And look, yeah, I'm rambling now, so I'm going to leave you. So I want to hear from you. Are you going to write a letter to yourself? Let me know. If you've made it this far, you are a flucking legend, let me tell you. And yeah, just keep me posted about whether you're asking yourself those questions, how you're showing up. And I wish you the most fabulous Friday and weekend, and I will catch you around. Ta ta.